Hey, we are back again here with another video on the same kind of a theme here. I wanted to kind of get into this because there was a piece that I wanted to get into in the other video, but it was already 40 minutes long, so I had to stop. And I wanted to talk about this combination of two, allowing situations, circumstances, relationships to come into form. And I wanted to discuss that a little bit on how this should be allowed to take place. And one of the things that I know that a lot of people are having problems with, especially in regards to relationships, well, we'll focus it totally to relationships. As I did in the last video, I gave you examples of allowing. In this one here, I'm going to try and give you an examples of allowing a relationships to take form. The tricky part in doing this is understanding that the challenge for you, be the male or the female, whatever, is when you understand the allowing part, then what has to happen is it needs to take form, and the form needs to happen in a certain way. I'm going to try to explain this. I'm probably going to do a shitty job of it, but I'll do the best I can, even if it doesn't come out quite the way that I would like. When you can get to the point where you can understand that relationships, love, and sexuality as we knew it have to go through a quantum shift and a change, and that's happening on the planet now. While we're going to have relationships, two people together, and while we're going to have them, continuing in the living in the burbs, getting together, having properties and houses and jobs and careers and children, the whole of the schematics that traditionally make up the relationships are going to change. There's going to be a new form take place. And in a lot of cases, we will be using, hopefully, we will still be using the twin flame label for a bit of time yet because it still fits, because we have a lot of people who in the twin flame community are so relatively speaking asleep. And a lot of them are, in twin flame groups, leading twin flame groups, or the coordinators of twin flame groups that are still asleep themselves, kind of deal. So we're going to have to wake them up through the collective, as it were. And people are going to get awakened the hard way or the easy way. That's the way it's going to be. It depends upon the individual, where their stream of consciousness is at, and where their level of understanding is at, as to how difficult or how easy it's going to be. And I'm going to tell you something. I have seen some people recently who are having a horrific time understanding and allowing a relationship to take form without getting muddled in their previous agendas and expectations based on the old theme of relationships. And I see this all the time in these twin flame connections and in soul-to-soul connections of various types. So I'm going to give you an example, a couple of examples, again, to emphasize the point here. I've been around here a long time. I've been on YouTube now for 11 years, and I've seen it all when it comes to the paraphernalia, the bullshit, and the outright flagrant screwing of people that's been going on by a lot of people. And I don't, as a rule, say anything about it. I just kind of, make a comment here or there, and I, jokingly talk about the teapot and card ladies, of which I love dearly, all right? There's a lot of very good ones, and there's also even more bad ones, and that's irrelevant. So as this taking form comes into play, you need to understand, I'm not saying the dissolution of relationships is going to happen, it's going to be totally different. I'm saying it's going to be relatively the same, so that our society, here's the problem, okay, I'd like everybody to kind of, before I get too much into the videos, just sit here for once without your defense mechanism up and being concerned about what I'm going to say that's going to piss you off, and just feel what I'm going to say. Can you do that? Can you just feel? And let me share myself with you verbally, but also energetically, so that we can get you connected with up here, with the allow button up here, and give you some information that may be helpful to you. All right, so it's taking form of a connection that you've had with another person. You've got to the point where you understand the expectations and the agenda, and you're at the point where you're allowing surrender. Now you've learned is not the appropriate, the right way to go. So now you're at the point where your relationship, your connection, your soul to soul, whatever label you want to use, is going to take form. The first question you're going to say, well, how is that going to happen? Well, what's going to happen is something like this. We're going to see relationships take place in a different way. I'll use myself and Nicole as an example. Over the years, we've been considered by anyone and everyone who knew us in our hometown to be rather unorthodox, to say the least. One, there is a 22-year age difference between the two of us, and we are, as a set of twin flames, totally unalike. I hear this all the time about, oh, twin flames are very much alike, they look alike. You know, twin flames looking alike is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. That's children stuff. Twin flames in a union and a connection, or soulmates or soul connections, usually are not alike at all. They're very different, because if they're not different, you can't mesh, you can't exchange, you can't grow, you can't evolve. Why would you be one of you like somebody and you like everything that somebody else likes? That's ridiculous. And the other thing is, for us, Nicole and I are totally independent of each other. We're not codependent on each other. She doesn't depend on me for finances. I don't depend on her for finances. And she has her own client base. She has her own friends. She even has an office out of where we live in a city close to us. And her forte is totally different than mine. We like different foods. We like different entertainment. Yet, we have a stream of consciousness or a stream of ideologies and philosophies that are similar. But the way we view it is, she can express the same thing that I'm expressing, but from her perspective or stream of consciousness, and I can do the same. And this is what is necessary in the stream of consciousness and the stream of evolution in regards to relationship. So let me give you an example, if I may, one in particular. We are very much aware of a lot of what I'm going to call the originals. Okay, this is not segregation or saying we're special or anything like that. There's no such thing as special on this planet, per se. There are people who have developed more talents at this particular point, but none of us are all the same. We're not all equal, as I've mentioned before. And equality comes in how your stream of consciousness expresses based on the circumstances that you arrive. I know a lot of people say, well, I never had the opportunity. I lived in a shitty environment. I came up from abuse. I lived in an alcoholic family. Oh, my parents were drug addicts. And I hear all of these friggin' excuses all of the time. But you know what? I see a lot of very successful people. As a matter of fact, the biggest majority of very successful, very creative, and very wealthy people come from those kind of backgrounds. They do. So this whining and sniveling about, you know, like, oh, I come from this and I come from that, that's a pile of excuses. That's just a cop-out for not doing anything. If you want it, it's there. Go get it. I did. I came out of it. I survived. I'm grateful to the life that I had where it was abuse, constantly, physical abuse, mental, emotional, and even some sexual abuse. I'm grateful for it. Because it's helped me to get where I am today by understanding the stream of consciousness and how screwed up our society is at this particular point in time based on relationship. And that's why I understand relationships have to change. So I'll give you an example of the new form of relationships. I know of a set of twin flames who live about 3 blocks from each other they're both married, and they both have children, and there's no intimacy between the two of them. And when they don't want to leave their marriages, they're perfectly happy with the person that they are, so they love their person that they're with, and they love their twin flame. So you're telling me now that love is limited to one person? Bullshit. That's the biggest pot of bullshit I've ever heard. Love is not limited or segregated to one person. They both love the person that they're married to. Isn't that interesting? And yet, they love each other also. And also, they get together periodically, and they'll go out and do a workshop. There's no intimacy between the two of them physically. There is etherically. Their present partners are fully aware of who and what they are. Now, that's what I call a twin flame union taking form without four people getting their head up their ass and getting in the way, with illogical, childish, and immature belief systems about love, relationship, and sexuality. That has taken form in that way. That's allowing it to take form. And yes, it's totally unconventional, non-traditional, and I know of others in similar situations. I even know, believe it or not, of original twin flames who have come in and never got together at all. You know why? Because that's exactly what they had planned. I'm going to say something here that may not sit well with some of you when I talk about twins. I'm talking about the original core group that came in 3 waves, okay? These souls coming in are volunteers. They've been here before. They've done all the relationship crap. They've been gay. They've been straight. They've been bi. They've been in every kind of love relationship you can possibly imagine over the many times that they've been here. They don't need to come back and do it again. They really don't need to, but they do, in some cases, to present a state of consciousness that can symbolize the relationship and give it new form. Does this sink in? Because everybody seems to forget this point. Now, for the twin flame template that has been set into collective consciousness, that is for specifically twin flame relationships, as some of you like to call them. But some people who call themselves twin flames and are in the public project about the relationship depending on where they are, who they are, and in the orientation or whatever they may be at that point. That's not why we came. We came originally to set a new template for relationships. We've done all this stuff before. I know what it's like to be gay. I know what it's like to be bi. I know what it's like to be sexually addicted. All of those things. I've experienced them before. The original core group are volunteers. They didn't have to come back. That's another point that needs to be made clear. They also come back in with a clear etheric body. That means they don't have what some people like to call karma or past patterns they have to work through. The only shit they have to work through is the soul group that they came into, and they take on those patterns and issues of the bloodline of the soul group that are in, so they can cleanse and purge them out of the system. The others that are coming in, that are accessing the twin flame template, are accessing it based on their particular belief systems right now about love, relationship, and sexuality. So the form that these are going to take are going to be similar to what is in our society now, because look at it this way. Our society in relationship department is in big trouble. And the whole of our society, everyone on the planet, functions around one basic premise: relationship. And relationships are going down the tube in general terms. That doesn't mean there's not good ones, like I said before in the other video. So now we're allowing them to take form. This is why it's so crucial for everyone to understand. If you have the twin flame connection and it's going on in your life, allow it to take form. Now, what I mean, somebody's going to say, well, okay, the woman or the guy that I'm connected with is a drug addict and a sex fiend and all kinds of problems. Does that mean that I have to allow it to take form as to where it's going to go? Absolutely. Keep yourself out of it and allow it to take form. If it's not intended to take shape in physical reality as the two of you in some form of a relationship, it will fall apart on its own. And then you're going to say, well, if it's going to fall apart on its own, why did I have it in the first place? Because you had it in the first place because vibrationally it was ideally suited to the patterns and belief systems of your particular soul group that you incorporated and the other person. There's a big plan going on here. And it's coming from allow up here. And allow is not going to sit down and sat there explaining everything to you from a logical, intellectual, three-dimensional point of view, state of consciousness. That's not going to happen. And I see this all the time. I see people, well, yeah, but I want to understand this. Yeah, but I want to know this. Yeah, but. It is impossible in our present state of consciousness to understand everything that's taking place in a three-dimensional linear fashion of our stream of consciousness that is evolving and allowing more of allow to come into place, so that in conjunction with you at the heart center chakra, which is now waking up to the point of allowing you some participation in it, this is what's going on to take form. Now I want to elaborate on that for a minute. So now we have allow up here, and we have you, who has had this magnificent heart center awakening, and now you're feeling the glow, the ebb, of which we all want to call unconditional love, or some other word, all right? The other thing that I hear on the planet all the time is, love is going to solve it all. Love is going to cure it all. I have never heard such a crock of shit in all my life. We've been hearing this in the spiritual community for the last 50 years. And you know what? The planet and relationships keep getting worse and worse all the time. And there's not really that much improvement that I'm seeing in the great scheme of things. In spite of all of what these all wonderful teapot and card ladies say, that everything's beautiful, we're all going to meet our twin flame. That's a pile of bullshit. That's what you want to hear. You've got so many people out there telling you what you want to hear. And then when it doesn't happen, you're disappointed. That's the problem. I tell you what is necessary for you to hear, or what you may need to hear. There's no way in a snowball in hell I'm going to sit here and tell you what you want to hear. That's why you don't like me. But I'm so lovable. Can't you tell? So, as you allow it to take form, what happens is this. You get in conjunction with the allow, and you get into a heart center opening. You will feel the connection. This is why I'm such a fanatic for heart center development and meditation at the heart center and getting focused in the heart center, because it's your doorway to salvation, literally. Salvation of what? Salvation of you and the miserable state of three-dimensional consciousness that contains us here and keeps us coming back, a great majority of you, to this particular planet and this particular expression that you think is so wonderful and you're so addicted to. It's time to spread your wings and fly, whether we want to or not. There's a big universe out there with multitudes of beings out there waiting for us to wake up and smell the coffee and get our head out of our asses. It's time. And we don't need rocket ships to go there. We can use the stream of consciousness if we allow it to take form. Some of us are beginning to do that in the dream state. And why are we having such successful excursions in the dream state? Because the three-dimensional state of consciousness is not there to screw it all up and ask a millennia of dumb and silly questions that aren't necessary, because you're not going to get answers. So you allow circumstances to take form around you. If the relationship is not productive and not going to take form, it will be experienced as being beneficial for both people in some way, shape, or form. And then as your vibration and stream of consciousness changes and you move up to the next level, you will attract to yourself another vibrational pattern that will present you with the same opportunity again. You see. This has been going on for millennia. And now it's going to continue. It used to only happen periodically, once in a while. That opportunity is now available to everyone in society. It takes form. Now, how does it take form within the heart center and the allow at the top of the head? You can call that God if you want. Allow doesn't care what you call him or her. You could even have a her or him or whatever you want up here. But allow up here is androgynous. It's neither male nor female. It doesn't have a dick or a pussy. All right? It doesn't come equipped with that. It comes as a being that is humanoid in form, but without the appropriate appendage that indicates it's female or male. No dick, no pussy. Okay? We clear on that point? The only place we have that here is in the physical, and we still haven't learned how to use that properly. Dig me? Okay. So the form we have here is not the appropriate one. We need to go anywhere else. It only keeps us coming here. Because some people think that physical sex is the greatest thing since sliced bread. I can assure you, there's much better, far superior available to you. But you have to allow it to take form. Remember that part. So this person has drifted off. Your stream of vibration and consciousness has gone up. And you still sense. I did not say need or want. You still sense expression within yourself that requires additional masculine or feminine presence. Then based on that, you will draw that person to you again. And if it's more successful the next time around, call it your soulmate, twin flame, whatever you want, then it will begin to take form in some way that's physical. The problem is a lot of you are in a big hurry. You know, I talk to people who are in their 40s and 50s and say, well, you know, I'm not getting any younger. I kind of like this to happen. Well, get your shit together and it will. As long as you have an expectation, as long as you have an agenda, it can't take form. Let it go. Allow it to take form. So when you get that stream in your mind, and you feel that sense in your being, what happens? First of all, you will get indication in the dream state, when your three-dimensional consciousness is not there, of all of the significant changes that are taking place in your life. Relationships will be one of them. You'll see yourself having interplay with different people, communication with different people that didn't really happen in your life. There will be exchanges of energy. They could be sexual, they could be sensual, they could be mystical. And these will all be working on the molecular cellular structure of your physical body without your three-dimensional stream of consciousness getting in the way. So what's happening? A wiring system, or a, shall we say, in-body internet system is being set up, between you and allow, so something can take form. But first you have to learn how to communicate. You see, communicate with allow. Now we're on a roll. We have communication established. Now we're going to learn to compromise. We're going to put aside our three-dimensional expectations and agendas, and we're going to allow communication to flow, first of all, in the dream state. Then what's going to happen is we're going to feel ourselves being given active participation in manifesting, which is form. Manifesting is form. Get it? And things will begin to flow toward you. Now you're navigating the process. Navigating the process in communication with allow. And it begins to take form. First, it will be simple. Things will just come to you and you'll say, wow, it happened just like magic. No magic. It's called form. And allowing, communicating, navigating with allow. Isn't it wonderful? See how simple Mel's University is? You come here, you actually learn something that's of value. Didn't cost you a nickel. And I don't need to give you a diploma at the end. You'll be self-sufficient, self-aware, and self-realized. What could you ask? And you don't like me? You don't know what you're missing. And you make silly comments on my YouTube channel? Don't know what to tell you there. So, at this point, as things are beginning to take form, you have a little bit of you that still wants to know. So at this point, you experience compromise. Compromise means at this point, you've learned to do something, and it's this. You've done something that allow really is impressed with. You have finally learned that your intellectual capacity is the voice of your soul. What? What did he say? I missed that. I'll repeat it. He said, you have learned that your intellectual capacity that you value so highly in this world, that you spend thousands of dollars going to high school, college, and university to take it to the highest level that you can, which dominates most of your day, now becomes the voice of your soul. How do you mean that? Well, instead of thinking and intellectualizing everything that happens at the moment, or in trying to anticipate it intellectually before it actually happens, you wait until it's taken form. And then suddenly the intellectual capacity kicks in and explains it to you exactly what happened. And you go, well, I'll be a son of a bitch. I never knew that. That's correct. Most of you don't know that. The intellectual capacity is the voice of the soul, but it needs to be in the right place, not the dominant feature of our society and our three-dimensional stream of consciousness. Our educational system is primitive, non-sufficient for the evolutionary process as it's moving through people at this particular point in time. So now that you've learned about form and the place of the intellectual capacity, you've learned how to communicate, navigate, negotiate, and compromise, which I've said right on the top line of our channel. It's been there for 8 years almost. Do I look like I'm stupid? I am very intelligent, and I have vision, and I can see what many don't see. The journey of evolution, the awakening of the soul, the manifestation of form is not a complicated procedure. It is the present 3D state of consciousness, created and wallowing in self-limiting, destructive, dysfunctional belief systems that are no longer applicable to the wonderful beings that we are. Are you starting to understand what I'm talking about, people? Are you? This is probably, in my opinion, one of the best videos I've ever done. And you watch, I'll get negative comments on it. Watch and see. So now you know about form. So the more you progress and you allow form to take shape here, allow form to take shape, you will notice that life will become that much easier. And you will experience what we like to call love, not just in a limited fashion, but you will experience love, as you call it, in your reality, for many different people, at many different vibrations according to their stream of consciousness and their evolutionary position in that three-dimensional stream of consciousness as it is evolving to the point of allowing the totality of a self-aware, self-individualized, enlightened state of consciousness to express through the physical vehicle in abundance. I'm done. Thank you very much.